NDC 3.0, a roadmap that not only prioritizes climate resilience and emissions reduction, but also aligns with our development goals and long-term low emission strategies. NDC 3.0 for us is going to be an all of government, or use an all of government approach, so that our entire economy will be geared towards a low emission, resilient economy. To our partners and our friends that are here today, I urge you to remain steadfast in your support for Sierra Leone's climate ambitions. Stakes are high for us, and the need for collaboration couldn't be more critical. Your expertise, your resources, and shared vision are essential as we seek to secure a sustainable and resilient future for our nation and contribute meaningfully to global climate action. Let me conclude by thanking the organizers, the NDC Partnership, and all participants for your unwavering commitment to advancing climate solutions. Together, we can ensure that Sierra Leone not only meets but exceeds NDC targets, inspiring others to do the same. Thank you, and I wish all of you productive and insightful session.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you for giving us all the insights in the state of events as far as climate action is concerned in our country, capacity limitation and finance constraints. That's very key for us. And also for highlighting how far we've gone with the NDC implementation and what we expect for NDC 3.0. At this point, I would like to call on the Executive Chairman of the Environment Protection Agency to give the opening remarks and state clearly the objectives of this event.
Thank you very much. No need to restate much of what the Minister and my colleague Lovetta have said. I will take you straight to the reasons why we are meeting today. This is expected to be an interesting dialogue, helping us reflect on much of what we have achieved over the past few years implementing NDC 2.0 and some of the things we need to pay critical attention to as we aim to develop the next generation of the NDC. So today's dialogue will seek to achieve three key things precisely, just to help us all reflect on why we're here and to help you prepare some of the questions you might be putting together for the panel. Number one, we aim to raise our collective understandings of the state of play, what actions have gone into implementing NDC 2.0, who have been the critical actors, what have been the challenges practically, what responses have been offered to addressing these challenges, and what have we identified as critical drawbacks in terms of some of the measures we have taken over the past years. The next goal we wish to achieve through today's dialogue is to raise an understanding of what learning possibilities we should be exploring going forward. Who and what should we be learning from precisely? And how can we more clearly delineate a direction for NDC implementation in the country, at the country level, but what synergies, what additional synergies and partnerships and collaborations we should muster to achieve the ambitions we are looking to raise. Finally, as my colleagues mentioned, we all can agree that siloed approaches will not work, so we will be spending some time to look at how can we all continue working together, building upon the exciting work we are doing with the NDC partnership to achieve even more possibilities, maximize the impact we are creating, particularly for communities, and enhance the efficiencies we think we should have to be able to effectively achieve not just the ambitions, but also effectively evaluate the results that we are seeking to achieve. Thank you. Let me turn you over to the moderator. We don't have enough time. Thank you.
A round of applause, please. Thank you very much, Dr. Abubakar S. Masakwe, the Executive Chairman of the Environment Protection Agency. We'll now have short remarks from the NDC Partnership representative. I don't know if it's you, Mariana. If it's you, then I need to, let me just announce your name. She's Miss Mariana Punucio Ferdman, the Director of Country Engagement, NDC Partnership.
Good afternoon. I just want to recognize, first of all, I know he had to depart, but the Honorable Minister Abdullahi. And I also want to thank the Executive Chairman, Masakoe, for setting up this meeting, this event today. Distinguished delegates, it's a pleasure to be with all of you today. My name is Mariana Panuncio Feldman. I'm the Country Engagement Director for the NDC Partnership. And on behalf of the partnership, it is an honor to join you today as Sierra Leone seeks to discuss its experience in implementing the current NDC and in preparing the road for the next NDC. I think that this kind of conversation is very important because we're at a very important moment in which we're halfway through the delivery of the current NDCs, at least in terms of time, and we're also looking to use the experience to date to set the ambition for the 5 years that are going to follow after 2030, right? So this needs to inform accelerated implementation in the remaining 3 years to achieve, as the minister said, to achieve and hopefully surpass the target of the NDC and to really set sights on the ambition for the country and all countries by 2035. So with that, I wanted to provide, first of all, maybe an introduction for those of you who don't know the partnership, what the partnership is, but then to really share with you the ways in which we have collaborated with Sierra Leone, a member of the NDC partnership, in addressing key priorities of the country. And this has set the stage for the implementation that the country has made to date. So first of all, the NDC partnership is a global coalition that brings together more than 130 countries and nearly 100 institutions to deliver on climate action in line with sustainable development goals. The way we operate is that countries identify their priorities and their needs, which we help articulate, and we turn to our wide network of partners to mobilize support in response to those requests. And based on that, we develop tailored packages of support that include technical assistance, dedicated expertise, and financial resources. So we work with our member countries through the entire cycle of the NDCs, from the development of NDCs to their subsequent translation into actionable programs and activities, so implementation to resource mobilization. And because we are in an iterative cycle, we're repeating the cycle as countries advance in implementing their goals. One thing that I would like to bring to your attention before we shift to the specific experience of here right now today for Sierra Leone is that right now, as you can imagine, we're working hard to support countries to implement their current NDCs, but we have also been putting a lot of effort into supporting countries that are seeking to prepare their NDCs 3.0. We have a dedicated call for that purpose that supports NDCs 3.0, as well as the development of long-term strategies and the alignment between midterm and long-term targets. And so far, 72 countries have come to the partnership to request support. 60 of those countries for NDC so far, and the number keeps growing, and 36 so far for LEDS, and some for both. And I'm glad to say that Sierra Leone, as I will speak in a second, has reached out for that support as well. So let me turn now to the experience with Sierra Leone. So Sierra Leone joined the NDC partnership in 2020. And if you all remember, this was a really challenging time. It was a time when movements were restricted due to the COVID pandemic, but we started work even remotely with Sierra Leone back then. And I'm glad to say that we have walked a good journey together. First of all, I just want to recognize the good working relationship we have with our focal points in Sierra Leone, the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change through the Chief Director, Mr. Sheku Mark Kane, the Ministry of Planning and Economic Development through the Development Secretary, Mr. Peter Nuyaba Samkapra, And we are proud to say that through our engagement of our regional team, we are working with them to advance the goals identified by the country. In November 2023, the partnership responded to a government's request and deployed an in-country facilitator in the Environmental Protection Affairs, Mr. Bashir Koroma, funded by CEDA. And the role of in-country facilitators is really critical because basically they are embedded in the government to help enhance the government's capacity to coordinate with ministries, to coordinate NDC implementation, and also to facilitate in-country coordination with partners so that the mobilization of support can also be coordinated more effectively. In January 2024, the partnership responded to the government's request to translate the NDC implementation plan that had originally been supported by UNDP into a results-based management framework that could be better used to track progress in implementation. And so this transition allowed the government of Sierra Leone to put this NDC implementation plan into a platform that is allowing Sierra Leone to track progress, foster accountability, mobilize resources, and get a picture of what's being supported and what's not being supported in a transparent manner. In October 2024, following the regional NDC 3.0 forum in Kigali, the partnership provided in-person training for 15 countries in Africa, including Sierra Leone government officials, on the use of this tracking tool. And this will complement Sierra Leone's efforts to establish a robust monitoring, reporting, and verification system linking to other tracking frameworks. In May 2024, the partnership received requests from the government through our window for NDC 3.0 from Sierra Leone, seeking support to develop the NDC 3.0 with a focus on an NDC stocktake, a gap analysis of mitigation and adaptation actions. Second, to develop the Sierra Leone's long-term strategy and its alignment to the NDC. And third, the development of an MRV system that can enhance tracking and reporting. So what I'm glad to share with you is that the German government, as a development partner and member of the partnership through its Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, BMZ, will support most of Sierra Leone's NDC 3.0 enhancement effort. And this has been communicated by our global director to the government of Sierra Leone this week. So we're confident that we shall mobilize further resources, additional resources, to cover the remainder of the request. So with the progress made so far, I really want to thank partner members that have stepped up to support Sierra Leone's needs, including Germany through BMZ, UNDP, the World Bank, the EU, FAO, CEDA, IOM, and the UN Women, to mention a few. Again, when we talk about the partnership, we talk about a collective effort. Ultimately, I want to say that this is an opportunity not only to recognize the progress that Sierra Leone has made, but really to look at how we go further and how we support the government of Sierra Leone to go further. And in that, I want to call on all partners to continue to partner with Sierra Leone to deliver on its priorities, and to let you know that the partnership as a coalition stands ready to keep walking that journey with Sierra Leone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mariana. Thank you for giving insight into how the partnership has been over the years since Sierra Leone joined, and stressing the mobilization of support, accelerated implementation, and also indicating that a lot of efforts have been made by you for the development of NDC 3.0 and the LEDS. You've also called for enhanced partnerships, which we look forward to. Thank you very much for your time. We're running out of time, but then at this point, we would like to invite the Director of Climate Change and Environment Protection Agency, Mr. Emmanuel Nyaka, to do a short presentation on charting Sierra Leone's climate journey, providing insights to what we've done and what we intend to do for 3.0. Mr. Nyaka, please.
Yeah. So thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. And of course, I will do a brief presentation on the journey of NDC 2.0 and what is the roadmap for us to review and update and develop the new NDC 3.0. And of course, okay, so this is a brief outline, so I will not dwell on that muchly. And of course, this is a brief context about Sierra Leone. Of course, Sierra Leone remains as a low income country, according to the World Bank and other multilateral agency that ranked us. And of course, we know we are faced with additional problems like inflation, and also with a lot of climate impact that the country is facing. Looking at floods, increase in rising temperature, and of course affecting a lot of other sectors, agriculture, coastal, and as well as infrastructure in the country. So the NDC in context, and of course we developed NDC 2.0 in 2021 before the Glasgow COP. And after that, the UNDP supported Sierra Leone and putting up what we call a financing strategy, an implementation plan and a financing strategy. And of course, the NDC had two broader aspects, one dealing with climate change adaptation and the other with climate change mitigation aspect. And so there are a lot of commitments that the country made in order for us to match ourselves with the global ambition of meeting the Paris Climate Agreement of 1.0. As a developing country that is releasing greenhouse gases that are very negligible to the global stock. But notwithstanding that, the country made tremendous progress and achievement in putting up our commitment in the NDC 2.0. And so in the implementation plan that was developed, of course, we initially follow a process of prioritizing, because when we developed the NDC 2.0, we had a whole range of wish lists. And so we sit and thought by ourselves that I don't think we'll be able to achieve everything within the NDC. And so we approached UNDP, and they supported us to come up with an implementation plan. And so we were able to come up with 15 activities, 43 outcomes, and 43 progress marker that we can look at and say, indeed, we are able to make progress. And doing that prioritization, we follow these 6 criteria. One, we look at high mitigation and adaptation potential. We look at high measurability of the activity, and we look at how scalable this activity could be if we want to move it forward. And we look at, is it fit for purpose? It is locally appropriate within the context of Sierra Leone. And we look at what are the benefit distributions and potential and alignment with our national development goals and agenda. And so this is a snapshot of the NDC 3.0. Okay, this is a snapshot of which the NDC Partnership supported Sierra Leone to put this particular implementation plan into an online tracking process. And so we were able to identify that most of the activities are geared towards follow, cross-cutting, energy, water, ocean and coast, water resources, agriculture, and the like. And so both mitigation and adaptation. And so it was concluded that for adaptation, we had about 47% of our NDC indicators addressing adaptation, while 52% addressing mitigation. And so you can see from this analysis that indeed Sierra Leone is committed in reaching the 1.5 degree. So in the NDC implementation plan, initially we were looking at 2.7 billion. But when we developed the NDC implementation plan, we were able to downscale the resources needed for us to be able to achieve those 15 activities that was prioritized. And so the resources came down to $97 million that we think we could mobilize in order for us to implement those 15 activities. So if you look at this, is a brief highlight and breakdown of what we achieved during the implementation of the NDC 2.0. When you look at agriculture, we stated that we want to promote climate smart, resilient agriculture. And this will contribute to agriculture and climate resilient food system and practices. And of course, it is the main focus is on adaptation. And so we are able, through other partners, to introduce climate resilient agricultural tools and approaches to more than 500 farmers across the country in the cocoa, rice, and oil palm sector. And this was done through the Agri Value Addition Development Project. And we were able to train personnel in the agriculture sector in planning, implementing, and tracking climate resilient farming and livestock management initiatives. And under AFOLO, we indicated that we want to develop a national forest inventory. And of course, we received support from the European Union through the FAO to undertake our national forest inventory after, I think, more than 50 or 60 years that the last inventory was done for Sierra Leone. And we are able to mobilize through government support to plant more than 1.2 million trees and restore about a 100-acre mangrove ecosystem. That was done through other partners. And of course, we promote integrated management of water resources, establish a blue carbon management system by developing a national framework for blue carbon that was spearheaded by the Ministry of Planning and Economic Development. For energy, of course, we were able to promote 200 rural communities, have solar-powered businesses owned by women, enrollment in primary education increases due to electrification and the like. And of course, for transport, we were able to piloted a sustainable transport system in Freetown by introducing mass transportation, 100 buses that was done by World Bank, and also improve road network across the country. So let me go to the challenges. And of course, for the challenges, of course, we identify, as the minister rightly said, financial resource gap that hampered for us to be able to achieve most of the targets in the NDC. And of course, technical capacity limited in order to roll out possible technologies that were able to address issues of mitigation and adaptation within the country, data gaps, and also coordination challenges, as the case may be. So we had about 10 lessons learned during the implementation of the NDC 2.0. One, that sustainable financing mechanism need to be prioritized and developed, additionally engaging other players like the private sector and establish what we call the PPP model in addressing our climate challenges. Establish a well-defined institutional framework with clear roles and responsibility, supported by multi-stakeholder platform. Creating a tailored program to empower youth and women, And of course, building technical capacity, strengthening community involvement, scaling up our pilot project, continue enhancement and engagement with donor partners like the NDC Partnership and others. So, why we need to review the NDC 2.0? Of course, we know we have evolving climate science, and so we want to align our NDC to the emerging trends. We want to advance in finance and technology, leveraging new financial and technological options. We want to align with our national development goals and aspiration, then also implementing the challenges and gaps. So these are the work packages that we said we want to do in order for us to be able to develop or write up our NDC 3.0. We want to undertake a greenhouse gas inventory and update emission data in order for us to set up realistic baseline in order for us to meet targets. Sector vulnerability, we want to do a decarbonization roadmap, looking at what are the possible pathways for us to meet net zero. We want to do a gender action plan, cost-benefit analysis, technological needs and assessment, then of course stakeholder capacity building. So we know the timeline for us to submit NDC is by March 2025. But we want to set up an NDC that we think is realistic and that can meet the ambition of the global goal of achieving our mitigation assessment. So we are planning to move this up to November, wherein we'll be able to launch it at COP29 in Badem. COP30, sorry. And so this is the budget we need. And as Mariana said, we have got commitments from key partners that said they will come in to assist us to address some of the issues, like the German government and the UNDP. But we are looking for more partners in order for us to advance and develop a realistic NDC. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nyaka. I don't need to go through all what you've said. I'm sure we all understood clearly. But I just want to highlight the fact that for some of you who are new, to know that the NDC development and implementation is a collaborative effort in Sierra Leone, spearheaded by the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change through the Climate Change Secretariat of the Environment Protection Agency and the Sierra Leone Meteorological Agency. So at this point, we need to go to panel discussion. So I would like to call the experts to come to the stage. And based on their expertise, we need to announce their names, their positions, and the knowledge on why they are being selected to be here. So let me call on Mr. Gabriel Parker, who is the Deputy Director General, of the Sierra Leone Meteorological Agency, and he is the UNFCCC National Focal Point. Mr. Parker, please. And then I call on Mr. Edward Bendu, the Chief Director in the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change, to occupy one of these chairs, please, sir. Thank you. Mr. Tamba Emmanuel Nyaka, Director of Climate Change, please join the team. And then finally, Mariana Punusio Ferdman, you can also join them. Thank you again for joining us here. So we go straight to the points, go straight to discussion. We have a few talking points. I'm sure the presentation has highlighted everything we need to know about what we've done for the past few years and what we intend to do. But then you need to hear that from the experts. That's why they're here. At this point, as the supervising ministry, I would like to start with the Chief Director. And please, sir, I just want you to give us Sierra Leone's climate issues, highlight a few of them, and what climate actions can you highlight that we've done as a country and our aspirations for the future? I can go through that again, sir. Sierra Leone's climate issues. What are some of these issues, Sierra Leone climate issues? What we've done as actions, and then some of the strategic aspirations for the future. You can use any of the mics. And let's please give our responses in under 2 minutes, if that's okay. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Director Lovetta Joanna. And good afternoon, partners. Thank you for having me here to talk on behalf of the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change on issues related to the climate challenges we are facing in the country. Of course, we are aware that this year alone, we had over 27 flooding events in the country. And the data is telling us that we had over 3,300 farmers were affected by flooding. It's very serious, and there has been challenges on the part of the Office of National Security and the Disaster Management Agency to address those flooding events that we had across the country. Secondly, we are having extreme temperatures. Temperatures for 2023, we are very, very high comparatively to other years. And that caused a serious alarm bell in the country and telling us that we are close to having drought conditions. That was a signal, partners, that Sierra Leone is also very close to experiencing drought conditions. And indeed, that has caused us in the ministry, together with our agencies and the Office of National Security, to begin to talk about implementing our drought management and contingency plan. And as I speak during the ministerial high-level meeting in Abidjan, we are thinking of having a drought protocol added to the UN Convention to combat land degradation. We'll be going to Riyadh, and that's going to be the position of the Africa Group. So these are challenges that the country is experiencing, and so I want to join my colleagues who have just been up at the podium there to see how the NDC Partnership could really support the government of Sierra Leone to do our 3.0, our NDC 3.0, and also see how we could move forward with the implementation plan. Further, maybe we'll want to talk about along the coastal stretches of the country. Definitely, you are having high sea level rises affecting our coastal communities, and that's very serious. That's very serious, and I think we really need to address it. So I want to congratulate the Environment Protection Agency for moving forward with the development of NDC 3.0. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Director. And I'll move on to the national focal point for the UNFCCC. Sir, can you briefly share Sierra Leone's experience in implementing the NDC 2.0? You were part of the whole team going up and down, having consultations and all that. What lessons have we learned? What are the challenges, and what do you think are opportunities? Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Lovetta, for giving the floor, and also thanks to everyone that is here, and also thank you to Nyaka for doing a fantastic job. And I think at the outset, I also want to join the EC to say thanks to the NDC Partnership, because of course, the offer to support us is very key. Because when it comes to NDC discussion, it sits, of course, at the heart of what I do, because I negotiate, I lead the LDC on science and mitigation. Just today, we had, I think, a draft text on the features of NDC. We are negotiating that, so I'm happy to be here. So regarding Sierra Leone experience when it comes to NDC, I think I just want to compare it to our first NDC that we had. I will tell you for the updated NDC, one thing that is clearly shown is that we have like an ambitious approach. As of course mentioned by Nyaka and also by the presentation, you see that we've already posed I want to cut down by like 25% of our GHG, which is very good for an LDC countries that is emitting very less, and also reinforce, for example, also our ambition when it comes to adaptation. So it's well reinforced within our NDC, and also have some cross-cutting issues, loss and damage, and then you name them. And the other thing has to do with stakeholder engagement, because it's a national-driven process, because when it comes to the convention, It's a top-down approach. We take the decision, we get back to our country. But in Sierra Leone, we use the, of course, bottom-up approach. So there was a lot of course, stakeholder engagements. Of course, we worked with the EPA. We went to the regions. We discussed with different stakeholders for us to gauge their views on how we can, of course, draft the NDC. Look into, for example, what are the systems that's been affected? What do they think they want us to put as part of the activities when it comes to implementation purpose? So we did that. But of course, when it comes to stakeholder engagement, you can never get everything completed, so maybe we can reinforce that. And another lessons learned also was the coordination and also the reviewing process, because the first NDC that we had, I think we had Ebola by then, so it was just a desk review. But this one, there was like a kind of a time for the consultant and also us from the team to do a kind of like an assessment, of course, with what we are doing. So because of time, I'll just go quickly to the challenges. For the challenges, one has to do with the climate scenario. When we developed the NDC, we never used, for example, the climate data, for example, in Sierra Leone, because I work for the Met Service, and of course, I'm the head of operations there. So what happened was that like we had a consultant outside that normally used the satellite data, and also try to see whether they can validate with the observed data, because we have less weather stations. So that tells you that the climate scenario in our NDC is not, for example, it's not too okay, because, you know, when it comes to satellite data, these are just, for example, estimates. So these are lessons that we learn. And also even of course, the projection that we use, because we matched our NDC with the third national communication. And the third national commission was developed way too back. So even right now, when we're thinking about us like having the fourth NDC, I don't think we are going to do any, for example, good projections, because we don't have our fourth national communication. So we use the third national communication. So it's a challenge. So I thought maybe if we would have had, for example, our fourth national communication would have served, of course, a very good platform. Another challenge has to do, for example, funding. The implementation part of NDC in Sierra Leone, I would tell you, is like subconsciously implemented, some of them. Because you go to some of these NGOs, they are implementing a lot of, for example, adaptation practices, mitigations, but these are not well captured by us. So tracking has been, of course, a problem for us. I think, nonetheless, I think the CB started with kind of us having the tracking tools. So this has been a challenge. And also, like, the coordination among institutions. It's not new. It's not only Sierra Leone, because I also work with the LDC, so I know when it comes to coordination. So like sometimes you call a meeting, you have other institutions that are sending like junior staff. So these meetings, when you want to have decision makers, that has to be in this meeting. So the coordination, also the implementation process, so that like for the country and institution to own the process, and for example to implement, we want to see, for example, the Minister of Finance taking some components to see how they can support. So that is, and then maybe forging ahead for the NDC 3.0. Maybe what are the key selling points that we need to capture from, of course, the experience. One thing that we have to do is let's try to reinforce the adaptation. Now you have GGA, there are a lot of indicators. So maybe if we're trying to look at for adaptation, let's look into those indicators to merge into the NDC. And also let's try to optimize the limited resources. Because now we have our NAP. The NAP is there. So I think, for example, most of the options in the NAP can just be captured within the NDC. So when it comes to implementation, you are kind of like also implementing the NAPs within the NDC itself. So that is something maybe we can look into. And also, of course, when it comes to the target setting, of course, we know that it's political, whether we're going to cut down 35% or so, but that has to do something that maybe we can consider. And also, finally, we need to do a lot of stakeholder engagement, and also, for example, to strengthen the institutional arrangement within the country, so that each and every institution, sectors, are part of the process. Even when it comes to implementation process, sectors should also use this one. And also going forward, when we have an NDC, let's say when we are developing a national plan, let's also try to link all of our policy with the NDC that we have. I think there are a lot of information that I will share, but because of time, I'll stop here for now. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much, DDG of the Sierra Leone Meteorological Agency. Thank you for highlighting some of the needs for the NDC 3.0, which is what I really want to ask Mr. Nyaka, but then you've already set the stage. Providing an insight on the possibilities for and the needs for NDC 3.0. What has been the country's relationship with the NDC partnership, and how do you see this going forward? Thank you.
So, thank you very much, Madam Moderator. And so I think Mariana has highlighted our engagement with the partnership. And of course, we joined the partnership at a time when COVID was very high. And so in terms of engagement was very limited. But notwithstanding that, since we joined the partnership, of course, we have got a very good working relationship with them, especially with the African team, because they have African team that lays with the country. And of course, the NDC implementation plan that UNDP supported us to develop was like a paper-based document. And so the partnership assisted us to put those that particular document into an online tracking platform that we call OPPT, that is Online Partnership Planning Tool, wherein you will be able to track progress of implementation and finance flow. And so that tool assisted us to have not a detailed analysis of how much resources have gone into Sierra Leone in our NDC. But it helped us because we realized that you have, like Gabriel rightly said, a lot of NGOs and other people who are going, receiving money on behalf of Sierra Leone and implementing programs without national government tracking progress of those. And so that tool assisted us to have like a snapshot. Then also they have provided what we call a capacity building training, both in country, online, and also in October in Kigali, we had to train country people how to operate the tool. And also they have assisted us in identifying potential partners who will come to fund or provide the necessary support, either technical or financial, in order for us to move the agenda of our NDC 3.0. And so if you look at the work packages, you will see that we definitely have a whole lot of work to do, because there are about 6 or 7 assessments that we think we want to undertake that will speak into the development of both our NDC and also our long-term low-emission development strategy. And so the working relationship with the partnership is cordial. And so we are looking forward that we have more partners, because we have only received commitment for the development of the NDC. But we are looking for our long-term low-emission development strategy that partners will come to assist us, how we align it with our NDC. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nyaka. And you talked about potential partners. I like the way the discussion is going. It's like one person leads the other to the next question. So talking about potential partners, Mariana, can you please tell us how the NDC partnership will effectively mobilize partners to meet Sierra Leone's support needs, especially for the NDC 3.0 and also the long-term low-emission development strategy?
Yeah, so as I described before, effectively the way the partnership operates is that we work with countries to articulate their needs. And what we do is we communicate those needs to all of our members. And then our members, based on the programs that they have in place, respond to those requests for support. So right now we have, as I mentioned before, interest on the part of BMZ to respond to the NDC 3.0 request. And therefore, what we're doing is we're doing that matchmaking. We're connecting that offer of support with the request for the NDC 3.0, and then that, in this case, this development partner will be able to deploy that support to Sierra Leone. For the long-term strategy, there hasn't been a response yet. So for that, part of what we do, and when I'm saying we is right now I'm referring to the support unit or the secretariat of the partnership, is we continue to engage partners to see who might be able to support that need. And that's basically our work. We are matchmakers, right? Like we work with countries to understand their needs, and we try to understand what partners can offer. So that's effectively the way we operate. And the great thing is that Sierra Leone has already stated its needs. And so right now what we're trying to do is make sure those needs are addressed. I actually, as you were about to ask me the question, I had taken a picture of a few of the slides that Mr. Nyaka had prepared, and I thought it was so helpful to see the distillation of, based on the progress that the country has made so far, additional areas, additional priorities that the country has identified. And this is perfect because we pride ourselves in saying we're country driven. The partnership doesn't bring an agenda to the countries. What we want to understand is what the country wants to do. And in that slide, there were like 10 different areas, and I was looking at them. It relates to strengthening institutional arrangements, to engaging on certain groups more explicitly. I mean, there were various areas of priorities, more sector-specific work, and being able to channel requests from sectors to the partnership. All of these are priorities that, as the partnership, as a coalition that is supporting Sierra Leone through the full cycle of its NDC, we can look to address those needs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mariana. Thank you. You can see that we have a lot to share. So much that Sierra Leone has in package to share with you all. But I think at this point, I'll give less than a minute to everybody to say your final words, and then we'll have short time for maybe 2 or 3 questions before we close for today. Can we, I want to have a final question that I want to ask that maybe all of you answer in your own simple ways before we get to the questions. That is, we want to link the LEDS and the NDC 3.0. So what are the critical needs, especially for the 3 of you? I don't expect Mariana to know our needs. The needs for Sierra Leone to meet our target in aligning that with the LEDS. Briefly, please, less than a minute.
I think the slide I presented that has the work packages and of course can link the NDC with the LEDS. Okay. Because you have inventory analysis, sector-specific vulnerability assessment, technology leads assessment, gender gap assessment, looking at financing assessment, cost-benefit analysis. All of those assessments, if they are done, then of course we'll be able to bring the linkages between the LEDS and the NDC.
You have anything to say, sir? Briefly, and then we go to the questions.
In my own case, I would want to zoom in on the inventory for our forest resources. The 1975 forest inventory has been old, okay, and now we are having FAO, as you mentioned in your presentation, coming in strongly to help develop the inventory monitoring tools for the forestry sector. That is very key for it to be linked to the NDC, yes. Because the NDC 2.0 was just talking about averages, but now if we can have real inventory as far as our forest resources go, and also our greenhouse gases, once we have specific figures, that should be able to feed into the NDC. It should be able to feed into our energy transition plan and our energy growth plan, as well as even into the agriculture sector and the health sector, because these are all related. So honestly, there is a link between reducing our emissions as well as there's a linkage between the reducing emissions and our NDC. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Briefly, Mr. Parker.
Yes, so quickly from me, when it comes to the low term, long term, of course, low emission strategy also, and then with the NDC, the linkage, one thing, it can help us to save money. That is like to conduct assessment, because we have age-old assessments. So any assessment that we do that is relevant can feed into the LEDS, can also feed into, for example, the NDC itself. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Time for questions. We need 1 or 2 or 3 questions, please. Yes, please. Your name and a short one.
Hello, I'm Carol. I'm from Uganda. Sorry, I came in a bit late, but I hope I'm not asking an off question. I'm wondering how inclusive is your NDC when it comes to youth and then the indigenous people, because I didn't see that. So I'm wondering, because these are the people that are severely affected. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any more questions? Yes, please. Please pass the mic.
I'm Renata from Brazil. Thank you so much for your lectures. But I will ask something right there, like you, but in education. How you tackle education? How to educate populations about NDCs? How can education can help?
Okay, thank you. How did we include the youth and then education? Any more question? One more. One more. No, I will give you that opportunity. He will wait. I think we need to learn from you all. Thank you.
I'm Tusita from Sri Lanka. So I want to understand regarding the governance system. How do you integrate this NDC whole thing for the national development plans? Thank you.
Thank you. I think we should answer the questions now because we're running out of time. And we need a short time for EC to do his closing. And it can be any one of you, sirs, or mama. Briefly, please. We have less than 5 minutes.
Briefly. All right.
Yes.
So like the integration into the National Development Plan, of course, definitely we'll have a new National Development Plan. So most of our policy, of course, they are linked to it. And also even for us, like EPA and Met Agency on a yearly basis, when developing our government budgetary system, we'll make sure that I capture some of these activities captured in the NDC itself. So for the education, I think you handle that, but for the engagement, indigenous people for Sierra Leone, I think it's very difficult for us now to have a clear definition about indigenous people. But I will tell you when it comes to youth and other people, we engage them during the process. It's not only governance engagement. We engage, of course, the youth, even and other people in most of the areas that we go when it comes to the developmental process for the NDC.
Thank you, Mr. Kwaka.
Yeah, so for the youth, during NDC 2.0, under the CBITS project, we were able to establish regional youth groups, wherein because we have like 5 regions within the country, and so for every region, we bring youth from the various districts that fits into that region, and we establish groups, and we have supported them in implementing or rolling out some of the activities within the NDC. So for education, of course, we do have a lot of platform wherein we share information. We use Facebook group, Facebook, Twitter. We use the other online, and we also have radio discussion, TV discussion, and even community engagement. And we are able, for the education, of course, we are able, I think for the first time, develop what we call a climate change book for kids. It is called Climate Smart Kids. It is an animated book that we have developed, and we are planning to roll out to, because we are in engagement with the Ministry of Education, and see how do we roll or distribute those books, and in order for kids from pre-primary school and up to primary and going to secondary can understand exactly what is climate change and how or what they can do in order for them to adapt or either mitigate.
Thank you, Mr. Nyaka. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. And for the closing, we have to obviously invite our executive chairman again, Dr. Abubakar S. Masakoi, to do the closing remarks. But before he comes to the podium, I would just like to take this opportunity to thank the panelists, to thank the Honorable Minister, first of all, for taking his time, because he has a very, very busy schedule to be here today to talk with us. And the EC, of course, who is here already and has been part of the process. The panelists, Mariana, NDC Partnership, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. EC, sir.
Thank you so much. This is going to be really quick, but let me also join you in thanking you, firstly, our moderator, for driving today's discussions, and you, our panelists, for those really insightful contributions. Many, many thanks to you in the audience as well for the helpful questions that you asked. Thank you so much for pointing out some of the things that we may not have remembered for today's discussions, and some of the things that we should be looking at moving forward. It is quite challenging to distill everything you have discussed, but I will try to highlight the key points of the discussion, just so that we leave remembering the key points of the meeting and what we consider next steps for us in the country, some things that would reflect on further to shape the design, not just of the NDC, but also the work that we intend to do on the LEDS. So what we have learned from today's event, firstly, is that climate change is a significant problem in the country. Its effects are multi-sectoral. Its effects have been felt across multiple communities across the country. And the impacts are not just current. We are talking about future impacts as well. We are, for instance, talking about coastal residents, about 300,000 coastal residents that are at risk of sea level rise and flooding by 2050 if nothing significant is done about this, which really lends to much of the thinking offered by Mariana in her statement regarding why we should be approaching our work on the NDC and the LEDS, from a perspective of exploring the interconnectedness between what can be achieved over the medium term and what are some of the more longer term goals that we should be seeking to achieve. The next point that was really quite well flagged by the panel was that we have made good progress, quite tremendous progress over the years. We have developed a national adaptation plan. We have an investment plan really laying out what sort of financing has been mobilized over time, what additional financial requirements we have for achieving really ambitious requirements for managing climate change at scale. But further action is absolutely necessary and urgent, which is raising, we keep asking for additional support, additional collaborations and partnerships. The third point that was advanced really clearly by the panel, that our next steps, particularly for developing the next generation of the NDC, should be shaped by the lessons that we are learning today, not just from the engagements we have had, the many, many stakeholder consultations we've had over the period of implementing NDC 2.0, but we should also see opportunities in engaging even more stakeholders, for instance, the private sector, ensuring there is a more explicit delineation of roles and responsibilities for different groups within our society, within and outside government, who can contribute more thoroughly to helping us achieve the goals that we will be setting. The fourth takeaway for me is that we can definitely not achieve the ambitious goals we'll be setting alone. Which is why I think it makes sense absolutely to emphasize the importance of continuing to work together, collaborating with all of our colleagues within government and with the NDC Partnership and other partners that have shown interest in working with us, and others with whom we can continue to explore all of these possibilities together. The next thing that really came out very clearly from the panel was the requirement of finance and capacity building. It's important that we all recognize that financing, sustainable financing, financing that is not only diverse but also predictable and available and accessible is mobilized in good time for achieving much of what we are seeking to achieve, and particularly looking in the way of the private sector, not just financing we can mobilize domestically or internationally from our donor partners, but looking in country, looking at possibilities we can explore together with the private sector to achieve even greater impact over the period is absolutely important. Finally, we have all recognized that the NDC Partnership has been a strong, cohesive force behind our journey implementing NDC 2.0, and we want to thank them for the support they have provided, the tools, the resources, the engagements we have had, and we are quite encouraged by the promise of continuing to work together. So thank you so much for hosting today's event. I want to use the opportunity as well to thank the panelists again for making the time to be here, and to thank all of you, our guests, for making the time to join us in today's important dialogue. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.